Have you ever wondered why some gardens stay cool, moist, and almost completely weed-free, while others seem to need fresh mulch every few months? Many gardeners spend hundreds of dollars each year buying bags of wood chips, straw, bark, or shredded leaves, only to watch them decompose, blow away, or wash out after heavy rain. Then the entire process starts all over again. But what if nature already had a better solution? What if a handful of carefully selected seeds could do the same job, and in many ways do it even better? Today's video is about a gardening strategy that more experienced growers have quietly relied on for years. Instead of constantly spreading mulch by hand, they allow living plants to become the mulch itself. These plants cover bare soil, protect it from harsh sunlight, reduce evaporation, crowd out weeds, improve soil structure, attract beneficial insects, and, in many cases, naturally feed the soil as they grow. Once established, many of them continue returning season after season with very little effort, making them one of the smartest long-term investments for any gardener. Now, let's be clear before we begin. This doesn't mean you'll never use traditional mulch again. Wood chips, compost, and straw still have their place, especially around young trees and newly planted beds. But living mulch can dramatically reduce how much purchased mulch you need, while adding benefits that ordinary mulch simply can't provide. Instead of just sitting on top of the soil, these plants actively improve the health of your entire garden. One of the biggest advantages of living mulch is temperature control. During the hottest weeks of summer, exposed soil can become surprisingly hot. That intense heat dries out moisture much faster, stresses plant roots, and creates difficult growing conditions for vegetables and flowers. A dense layer of living plants shades the soil throughout the day, helping keep temperatures lower and allowing moisture to remain available for much longer. That means less watering, healthier roots, and stronger plant growth. Living mulch also helps solve another common gardening problem: soil erosion. Heavy rain can easily wash away valuable topsoil from bare garden beds. Every storm carries away tiny particles filled with nutrients and organic matter that took years to build. Ground-covering plants slow the movement of rainwater, allowing more water to soak into the soil instead of running off the surface. Over time, this helps preserve your most valuable gardening resource. Perhaps one of the greatest benefits is weed suppression. Most weeds need sunlight reaching the soil before their seeds can germinate. When the ground is covered by dense, low-growing plants, far less sunlight reaches those dormant weed seeds. Fewer weeds germinate, meaning less time pulling unwanted plants and more time actually enjoying your garden. It's one of those situations where nature does much of the work for you. Another advantage that many people overlook is biodiversity. Traditional mulch doesn't bloom. It doesn't attract bees, butterflies, hoverflies, or other beneficial insects. Living mulch often produces flowers that provide nectar and pollen throughout the growing season. Those insects don't just make your garden beautiful, they also pollinate vegetables and flowers while helping control harmful pests naturally. A thriving garden is rarely just about the plants, it's about creating an entire ecosystem that supports itself. With that understanding, let's begin with the first remarkable plant that can transform your garden into a self-mulching paradise. The first seed worth considering is comfrey, although many gardeners actually plant it using root cuttings because it establishes more quickly. Comfrey has earned an outstanding reputation for good reason. Its enormous leaves spread across the soil, creating a thick protective layer that blocks sunlight from reaching weeds while helping the ground retain moisture. Those broad leaves act like living umbrellas, shielding the soil during intense summer heat. But comfrey's greatest strength lies underground. Its exceptionally deep roots reach far below the surface, where most garden plants cannot access nutrients. These roots absorb minerals like potassium, calcium, and magnesium from deep in the soil profile, bringing them back into the leaves. When those leaves are cut and placed around vegetables or left to decompose naturally, the nutrients return to the topsoil where shallow-rooted crops can use them. That's why comfrey is often called a nutrient accumulator. Growing comfrey is simple. It performs best in fertile, well-drained soil, but tolerates a wide range of conditions once established. Choose a sunny location or one with partial shade. Because mature plants develop large root systems, select a permanent location where they can remain for many years. Water regularly during establishment, but after that, comfrey becomes surprisingly resilient and often survives dry periods better than many other garden plants. Maintenance is equally straightforward. Several times throughout the growing season, cut the leaves a few inches above ground level. Those freshly cut leaves make excellent mulch around tomatoes, peppers, squash, fruit trees, and berry bushes. As they break down, they release valuable nutrients directly into the soil while continuing to suppress weeds. Few purchased mulches can provide that combination of protection and natural fertilization. The second incredible seed is nasturtium, one of the most versatile companion plants any gardener can grow. Unlike ordinary mulch, nasturtium brings vibrant color into the garden while performing multiple useful functions at the same time. Its round leaves quickly spread across exposed soil, forming a dense carpet that helps reduce evaporation and keeps weeds from becoming established. Nasturtiums are especially valuable in vegetable gardens because they attract pollinators while also acting as trap crops for certain pests. Aphids, for example, are often drawn toward nasturtium instead of your vegetables. While no single plant completely eliminates pest problems, using nasturtiums as part of a balanced garden ecosystem can reduce pressure on nearby crops and encourage healthier plant growth overall. Growing nasturtium from seed is easy, even for beginners. Sow the seeds directly into the garden after the danger of frost is past. Plant them about 1 inch deep in well-drained soil. Interestingly, they often perform better in moderately fertile soil than in overly rich ground, where they may produce excessive leaves with fewer flowers. Water consistently while seedlings establish, then reduce watering slightly once the plants mature. One pleasant surprise is that nearly every part of the nasturtium plant is edible. The flowers, leaves, and immature seed pods can all be used in salads, adding a mild, peppery flavor similar to watercress. That means your living mulch isn't just protecting the soil, it can also contribute to your kitchen. As nasturtiums continue spreading throughout the season, they naturally shade the ground, reducing moisture loss while creating an attractive living blanket beneath taller vegetables. When frost eventually kills the plants, their remaining foliage decomposes and contributes organic matter back into the soil, preparing the bed for the next growing season without requiring nearly as much purchased mulch. Many gardeners discover that after growing just these first 2 plants, the amount of bagged mulch they buy each year begins to shrink noticeably. Instead of repeatedly covering bare ground with materials that eventually disappear, they're allowing living plants to perform multiple jobs simultaneously, protecting the soil, feeding beneficial insects, improving fertility, suppressing weeds, and building healthier gardens one season at a time. And we're only getting started. The next 5 seeds become even more powerful because some of them not only replace mulch, but also improve soil fertility, fix nitrogen naturally, and create living carpets that return year after year with very little maintenance. The third remarkable seed is Facelia, often called one of the most beneficial plants you can grow for both your soil and the wildlife that supports a healthy garden. At first glance, Facelia may simply look like an attractive flowering plant with delicate purple-blue blossoms, but beneath the surface, it performs several valuable jobs that make it an outstanding living mulch. As it grows, its soft, fern-like foliage spreads over the soil, reducing direct sunlight on the ground and helping the soil stay cooler during hot summer afternoons. That cooler soil loses moisture more slowly, which means your vegetables often require less frequent watering. One of the biggest reasons experienced gardeners love Facelia is its ability to attract pollinators. Bees, butterflies, hoverflies, and many other beneficial insects are drawn to its nectar-rich flowers. A garden filled with pollinators usually produces healthier crops because flowers are pollinated more efficiently. At the same time, beneficial insects such as hoverflies lay eggs near aphid colonies, and once their larvae hatch, they begin feeding on those pests. In other words, Facelia doesn't just cover the soil, it helps create a balanced ecosystem where nature assists with pest management. Growing Facelia from seed is refreshingly simple. Scatter the seeds directly onto prepared soil in spring or early autumn, lightly rake them into the surface, and water gently until germination. The seedlings establish quickly and begin forming a protective carpet before weeds have much opportunity to take hold. They perform well in full sun, but also tolerate partial shade, making them suitable for many different areas of the garden. As the growing season progresses, Facelia produces an abundance of lush green material. When flowering begins to slow, many gardeners cut the plants and leave them exactly where they fall. The stems and leaves gradually decompose into a rich organic layer that continues protecting the soil while feeding the countless microorganisms living beneath the surface. Instead of carrying plant material away, you're allowing it to become tomorrow's fertile soil. The fourth incredible seed is white clover, a plant that completely changes the way many people think about ground cover. Some homeowners spend years trying to remove clover from their lawns, while experienced gardeners intentionally plant it because of the tremendous benefits it provides. White clover forms a dense, low-growing mat that naturally shades the soil, reducing evaporation while making it difficult for weeds to establish themselves. Its greatest superpower, however, lies below the ground. White clover belongs to the legume family, meaning it works together with beneficial bacteria attached to its roots. These bacteria capture nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert part of it into forms that plants can eventually use. Nitrogen is one of the most important nutrients for healthy plant growth, especially leafy vegetables. While white clover won't replace every fertilizer application, it can certainly contribute to healthier soil over time. White clover grows best when sown directly into prepared soil during spring or early autumn. The seeds should be scattered evenly over the surface and lightly pressed into the soil because they require good contact for successful germination. Keep the area consistently moist until seedlings become established. Once mature, white clover requires surprisingly little attention and often remains attractive even during periods of moderate drought. One reason gardeners appreciate white clover is that it tolerates regular trimming. If it begins spreading too far, simply mow or trim the plants. The cut foliage falls back onto the soil, adding another layer of organic matter while continuing to act as natural mulch. It's a simple cycle that repeats itself throughout the growing season, with very little effort from the gardener. The fifth seed may surprise many people because it produces one of the fastest living mulches available. Buckwheat is famous for its incredible speed. Under warm conditions, it germinates quickly, covers bare soil rapidly, and begins suppressing weeds before many unwanted plants even have a chance to emerge. If you've recently harvested a crop and don't want your garden bed sitting empty, buckwheat is one of the smartest temporary covers you can plant. Its broad leaves spread across the surface, shading the soil and helping retain valuable moisture. At the same time, buckwheat develops a fibrous root system that helps improve soil structure. Some research also suggests that buckwheat can help make certain soil nutrients, particularly phosphorus, more available to future crops, giving the plants that follow a healthier start. Planting buckwheat couldn't be much easier. Broadcast the seeds over prepared soil during late spring or summer, lightly rake them in, and water thoroughly. Within days, you'll begin seeing vigorous growth. Because it develops so rapidly, buckwheat often outcompetes many annual weeds naturally, reducing the amount of hand weeding required later in the season. Its small white flowers soon appear, attracting bees and numerous beneficial insects that visit your garden throughout the flowering period. Before the plants produce mature seeds, many gardeners cut them down and simply leave everything lying on the soil. That thick blanket of stems and leaves gradually decomposes into valuable organic matter, enriching the soil while continuing to protect it from drying sunlight. Perhaps one of the most overlooked advantages of these living mulch plants is the improvement they bring to soil life itself. Healthy soil isn't simply dirt, it's an incredibly complex ecosystem containing billions of bacteria, fungi, earthworms, insects, and countless microscopic organisms. These living creatures constantly recycle nutrients, improve soil structure, and support healthy root growth. When soil remains covered year-round instead of exposed to intense heat and heavy rain, those beneficial organisms are able to thrive. Bare soil is rarely found in nature. Walk through a healthy forest and you'll notice the ground is always protected, either by fallen leaves, decaying organic matter, or living plants. Nature understands that uncovered soil is vulnerable. By growing living mulch, you're simply following one of nature's oldest and most successful gardening principles. Another important benefit is reduced maintenance. Many gardeners spend weekends pulling weeds, watering constantly, spreading mulch, and replacing materials that have decomposed or blown away. Living mulch gradually takes over many of those jobs. Once established, these plants continue working every day without asking for fuel, electricity, or expensive supplies. They simply grow, protect, and improve your garden while requiring only occasional management. Of course, living mulch isn't about allowing plants to grow wildly without control. Like every successful gardening technique, balance is important. Some vigorous species may occasionally need trimming so they don't compete too heavily with young vegetables. Fortunately, those trimmings don't become waste, they become fresh mulch, returning nutrients and organic matter directly back to the soil where they belong. If you're beginning this journey for the first time, don't feel like you need to replace every bit of traditional mulch overnight. Start with one garden bed. Choose one or two living mulch plants that fit your climate, observe how they perform throughout the season, and let your own garden become the teacher. Most gardeners who experiment this way quickly discover healthier soil, fewer weeds, improved moisture retention, and a garden that becomes easier, not harder, to maintain year after year. The sixth incredible seed is creeping thyme, a plant that proves a living mulch can also be beautiful and fragrant. Unlike traditional mulch that simply sits on the surface, creeping thyme forms a dense, low-growing carpet of tiny evergreen leaves that hug the ground closely. During the growing season, it bursts into bloom with masses of pink, purple, or lavender flowers that attract bees and other valuable pollinators. As the plant spreads, it covers bare soils so effectively that many weed seeds struggle to receive enough sunlight to germinate. One of the reasons creeping thyme has become so popular is its remarkable drought tolerance. Once established, it requires very little supplemental watering compared to many other ground covers. Its thick mat of foliage shades the soil, helping moisture remain in the ground for longer periods. That makes it an excellent choice around pathways, raised beds, rock gardens, and even between stepping stones where it can tolerate occasional foot traffic. Growing creeping thyme from seed takes a little patience, but the rewards are worth the effort. Sow the seeds on the surface of well-drained soil because they need light to germinate. Keep the soil lightly moist until seedlings emerge. Since young plants grow slowly at first, remove any weeds that appear nearby until the thyme fills in. Once established, however, it becomes a dependable, low-maintenance living mulch that can thrive for years with only minimal care. Another advantage is its aromatic foliage. Brushing against the plants releases a pleasant herbal fragrance that adds another sensory experience to the garden. In addition, the leaves can be harvested in small amounts for cooking, making this living mulch both ornamental and practical. The seventh and final incredible seed is sweet alyssum, a humble-looking plant that quietly performs several important jobs at once. Its clusters of tiny white, pink, or purple flowers bloom for months, creating a blanket of color that spreads close to the soil. That dense growth shades exposed ground, slows moisture loss, and helps reduce weed growth throughout the season. Sweet alyssum is especially valued because it attracts beneficial insects, tiny parasitic wasps, hoverflies, lacewings, and many pollinators visit its flowers regularly. These insects play an important role in controlling common garden pests naturally. By planting sweet alyssum near vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, lettuce, cabbage, and cucumbers, you're inviting helpful insects into your garden without relying entirely on chemical sprays. Starting sweet alyssum from seed is simple. Scatter the tiny seeds over prepared soil in spring or early autumn and gently press them into the surface without burying them deeply. Water carefully until the seedlings establish themselves. The plants prefer full sun to partial shade and bloom continuously when faded flowers are occasionally trimmed. In cooler climates, sweet alyssum often continues flowering until frost, providing months of beauty and ecological benefits. As the plants complete their life cycle, they naturally add organic matter back into the soil. In many regions, they also reseed themselves, returning the following season with little effort from the gardener. That means each year, your living mulch can become thicker and even more effective. Now that you've seen all 7 plants, you maybe wonder which one is the best. The truth is that there isn't a single winner because each serves a different purpose. Comfrey excels at producing nutrient-rich mulch. Nasturtiums combine ground cover with edible flowers and companion planting benefits. Facelia attracts an incredible number of pollinators while building organic matter. White clover enriches the soil with nitrogen while suppressing weeds. Buckwheat rapidly covers empty beds and improves soil structure. Creeping thyme provides a long-lasting evergreen carpet for dry areas, while sweet alyssum fills the garden with flowers that attract armies of beneficial insects. Many experienced gardeners don't just choose one. Instead, they combine several of these living mulches throughout the landscape. Comfrey might grow beneath fruit trees where its leaves can be chopped and dropped as mulch. White clover may fill pathways between vegetable beds. Nasturtiums can trail beneath tomatoes and squash. Sweet alyssum may border raised beds to attract pollinators, while buckwheat protects any beds that temporarily become empty after harvest. Each plant contributes its own strengths, creating a garden that works as a complete ecosystem instead of a collection of individual crops. There are, however, a few common mistakes that beginners should avoid. The first is planting vigorous living mulch too close to tiny seedlings. Give your vegetables enough time to establish before allowing ground covers to spread around them. Strong vegetable roots can usually compete successfully, while newly sprouted seedlings may struggle if surrounded too early. The second mistake is forgetting that even living mulch needs occasional management. Some plants grow more aggressively than others and may require trimming once or twice during the season. Fortunately, every trimming becomes free mulch that can be left exactly where it falls or moved around nearby plants. Another mistake is expecting instant results. Traditional mulch provides immediate soil coverage because you spread it all at once. Living mulch grows over time. During the first few weeks, patience is important while the plants establish themselves. Once they mature, however, many continue providing benefits year after year with far less ongoing expense. It's also important to match the right plant to the right location. Creeping thyme loves sunny, well-drained areas, but won't perform as well in constantly wet soil. White clover tolerates more moisture and light foot traffic. Buckwheat grows quickly during warm weather, but isn't intended as a permanent ground cover. Comfrey needs enough room for its large root system, while sweet alyssum performs beautifully along borders and between vegetable rows. Understanding these differences helps each plant perform at its best. One of the greatest lessons gardening teaches us is that nature rarely leaves soil uncovered. Whether it's forests, meadows, or healthy grasslands, living plants in organic matter constantly protect the earth beneath them. Bare soil is usually temporary. By adopting living mulch, you're working with that natural system instead of constantly fighting against it. Imagine walking into your garden on a hot summer afternoon and seeing very few weeds, cooler soil, buzzing bees, fluttering butterflies, healthy vegetables, and vibrant flowers, all while spending less money on bags of mulch every year. That's the long-term advantage these 7 remarkable plants can provide. They don't just replace mulch, they create healthier soil, support wildlife, conserve water, recycle nutrients, and transform your garden into a thriving ecosystem that becomes more productive with every passing season. If you're new to living mulch, don't feel pressured to plant all 7 at once. Choose 1 or 2 that fit your climate, your growing space, and your gardening goals. Observe how they perform over an entire season. As your confidence grows, gradually introduce additional species until your garden develops into a balanced, self-supporting landscape where every plant contributes something valuable. Remember, the healthiest gardens aren't always the ones that require the most work. They're often the ones designed to let nature do much of the heavy lifting. By replacing bare soil with carefully chosen living plants, you're investing in healthier harvests, stronger soil, reduced maintenance, and a more resilient garden for years to come. Before you head out to plant your first living mulch, let us know in the comments which of these 7 seeds surprised you the most and which one you're excited to try in your own garden. We'd also love to know what gardening zone you're growing in, because your experience could help someone else watching from a similar climate. If you found this guide helpful, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to Savage Harvest and Heal, and turn on notifications so you never miss practical, research-backed gardening tips designed to help you grow healthier plants naturally. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next harvest.